Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Brax Tacks, where we get down to brass tacks about God and life and theology and all those kinds of things. So we just wrapped up a series on the Sabbath.
We did do that.
Good idea to take some
restful.
Yeah. Wow. We're just gonna do Cars impressions this entire time.
Owen Wilson.
We printed out the script to Cars.
Yep.
Not just the first one, but the second one and the third one. And Preston and I are just gonna take turns being the different characters.
All right, I'm gonna start doing
I'm
Sheryl
Lightning
Crow's Real Gone.
Okay. Yeah. I will be Lightning McQueen, obviously, for obvious reasons.
And I be Tomater, go at the tut.
Yeah, cool. I'll also be Doc Hudson.
Oh, why do you get all the cool characters I get the
fun ones? Listen, I'm the older man, so it makes sense that I would be
true,
Doc Hudson.
Very true. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
So Preston, what are we gonna actually talk about?
Oh, because
we now I want this on the books that we are gonna do the entire Cars movie audiobook version.
Today we are going to talk about dating, human sexuality, and purity culture.
All right.
Some topics that, at least for me and Brax, we love to discuss.
Yeah.
To start off, though, I think we're gonna dive down the dating. Christian dating and the world dating and what is dating and dating, you know. So I just realized I have a pen.
All of the
dating. I just realized I have a pen in my to the camera. I have a pen in my hat, and I think it makes me look distinguished.
You look so cool right now.
I am so cool.
It looks like you have a mic sticking out. You got like a gamer headset on right now.
But thank you. That's great. To start off though, Brax, to get the ball rolling, what is dating?
Oh, wow. What a question. I think dating is it depends on who you ask and what culture you're a part of. But I would say typically in Christian understanding, dating is the thing that you do between a man and a woman to figure out whether or not you want to get married.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah. I think that checks out.
Yeah.
Christian perspective, you date to marry.
Yep.
Does this person have the character, the qualities, and the goals, and the personality traits that I want to associate with the person that I marry, raise a family with, spend my life with.
There's different matrices of measuring what you actually want in a spouse too, because for some people, personality matters a lot, and then for other people, it doesn't.
Practicality is where it's at.
That's what we're calling it.
We
said that we would keep this very clean, so we're gonna keep it very clean.
It that way, just for the record show. I was thinking more of like a business. Marriage,
okay, yeah.
It's like you want to function. We want to raise kids. We want to have a business. We want.
Those things. How many kids do you want? You want to be compatible.
Like a practical thing.
Yes.
Like some people want a more romanticized relationship.
Yeah.
One want a more family oriented.
Yeah.
That's where I was going.
All right.
With that, and then. From a world perspective, it can have the same connotation, but that typically doesn't present itself until maybe late 20s for most people.
Yeah.
Dating more so in high school is more, you can say someone to have fun with. Maybe that's someone you have your first sexual experience with. College is the same boat. And that's for like long-term committed relationships. You also have quicker dating. You could say more like one-night stands. You can talk from hookup culture.
Yeah.
Maybe you really don't know what you want, so you're maybe no strings attached, dating several people. Maybe you just want something to do, so you're going on dates with different people, just having a good time. Maybe you want a free meal, and someone has offered to take you out, and there you go. So it manifests itself, at least from my experiences, in so many different ways. I mean, we could talk for 3 hours on what dating is on like a philosophy.
Yeah.
The philosophy of it.
Yeah.
But our goal here is, I think we're going to talk about Christian dating because if you're listening to this and you're a Christian, we have the goal of dating is to lead to marriage. That's, I think, what I believe. That's what the people around me believe. I think if we don't want to mess with temptation.
Yeah, I think we'll unpack that later.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. But so I think to start off, Brax, you're a married man.
I am.
This guy's married. So
7 years.
7 years
Going
of
on
marriage.
8.
7 years going on 8 years
Yeah.
of marriage. What did dating look like for you and your wife before you guys got married?
Yeah. Well, we were really good friends before we started dating. Like really good friends. My best friend was her brother. My mentor is her dad. So I was with their family a lot. And what ended up happening was, so I had been kind of girl crazy as a teenager, which makes sense. You've got hormones and things, and you want to propagate the species. So
yeah.
So I was kind of girl crazy, but around this time of my life, I had decided that I wanted to have one friend who was a girl that I was just really good friends with, and that there would be nothing romantic about that relationship.
Cool.
And no possibility. Who I chose for that was Jess, my wife. So we were really good
didn't
friends.
work out.
Yeah, it didn't work out, but
Or
we were.
maybe it did.
Well, I mean, ultimately, in some sense, God has a sense of humor that way, right? But we were really, really good friends, hung out a lot, talked about a lot of different life stuff. She helped me through relationship things. I had 2 girlfriends that she knew about because we were really good friends. Not 2 girlfriends at the same time. Sequential.
To be clear.
Yeah, but then, eventually I was washing dishes at Denny's because that was my job. And I was kind of in this period where there was, kind of no prospects or anything like that, and just, kind of daydreaming and being like what the future is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this thought of like, well, what about Jess? And I was like, no, shut up, me. She's one of your closest friends. Don't screw this up. And so it's like, okay, yeah, and then like a couple weeks went by, and then I had the thought again, and I was like, no, shut up, stupid. And then it became more frequent, whether it was like every week, every other day, every waking thought. And so then I talked to her brother, and I was like, hey, do you know like the feeling that you get when you're like, something would be really good, but like it can't happen? And he's like, you mean like you and Jess? And I was like, oh no, like I've been ID'd, and then I'm like really hoping. Yeah, I was really hoping and expecting him to say, dude, that's my sister. And then that would be the end of it. But he's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe. And it's like,
it's the wrong thing to say.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm in turmoil right now. And she had no idea. She just thought we were really good friends.
You kept your cards close.
Yeah, well, and we had talked about it before. Like just several months before that, she was like, hey, this is an awkward conversation, but do you like me? And I was like, no, we're really good friends. But apparently there was some chemistry there, and people had said some things to her. And,
wow.
Yeah. Wow. So it ended up being where I liked her. I talked to her. I asked her out. She told me no. That was understandable. And then eventually she was like, it wasn't an absolute no. And then the rest is history. So, I mean, we dated for 6 months, but it was kind of like we knew what we wanted. Our first date technically was a double date, and with some of her college friends, and they asked us all those kinds of compatibility questions, and we landed on all the same pages and same sentences and paragraphs and alphabet and language. Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff here. I think we're gonna use some of that as our talking points.
Yeah. Okay.
To move into. So, first off, you said you guys only dated for 6 months.
6 months, and then we got engaged.
That, I think, for a lot of people would raise some red flags.
Oh. Okay. Let's psychoanalyze.
So I think
my relationship.
The whole thing I've always grew up with was like, you got to date for 2 years, at bare minimum a year. You got to go through the seasons.
Yeah.
You got to get to know each other. I've heard it said, if you date someone for 6 months, you barely know them. Now you and Jess were good friends beforehand.
Yeah, for probably I think it was close to 2.5 years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So with that being said, just throwing it out there to start, is there a time frame that maybe a Christian should date? What do we do with that there?
I don't think that there is. you know, which I know this, like we're recording this at Bethel University in their podcast studio, the Royal Media, and, you know, there are kids that want to do Ring by Spring. Okay. My pastor, I think they knew each other for just a few months and they got engaged.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're awesome. Like, they are such a solid couple and have done ministry together for like 30 plus years. I think there are probably, I guess with dating, there's proverbs, but there's not commands, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there are general principles that you might want to follow, but there's probably not like hard and fast rules of like, do not date for anything less than 2 years before you get married to this person. It's like, yeah, okay. Well, because part of that is like, well, you want to make sure that your relationship is good after you get married, you know, like you don't want that to crash and burn. It's like, well, maybe if you have a commitment to not get divorced, then it won't crash and burn. Like,
a concept here.
Crazy concept. But, you know, like dating is a relatively new concept.
It's insanely new on the face
Yeah.
of the earth. Last, what, 70 years, if even that?
Yeah, if that. I mean, the Reformation kind of kicked some things off with new concepts of what marriage ought to look like, where you should actually have a romantic love for your spouse, Martin Luther.
Where for a long time that wasn't.
Yeah, that wasn't
like
the thing.
Romantic love was not really a
Well,
thing.
and
it wasn't the end all be all.
It certainly wasn't, and it was more, from my reading and understanding of the history around this, it was more like erotic novels that had romance and stuff. Because the thing was, like, you were paired, you know, like your marriage was political, your marriage was financial, your marriage was arranged, and so romantic love existed, but it wasn't like the odds of you having a romantic love for your spouse was pretty low, you know. And then it started getting where that was kind of the standard after Luther and his marriage to, I can't remember her name. It's like Von something.
Cool.
But he loved her.
Okay.
She was a nun.
Great. Awesome.
She was a nun.
Love that for Mr. Martin.
Yeah. For Mr. Martin.
Mr. Martin.
I love it.
So you would say that there's no exact amount of time to date. So then within that, what you said, like on your first date with Jess, that her college friends kind of put you guys through the ringer a little bit. Because I have friends that have dated for several years, then gotten married, that were, you know, very ready for it well before they got married. And then I have friends and I know people and know of people who could get engaged, have got engaged after like a few months, and they're rock solid, ready to go. I also know some people after 7 months that like, no, do not get married, but have also gotten married later on in their dating relationship, and it's gotten a lot healthier. So we know there's no exact science, which means there's no exact time. Okay, we've talked about that now. What then should that intentionality within dating look like if you're dating to get married? How do you know what's the process of getting to that point?
Yeah, there's no exact science with this.
There is no.
So
I don't believe this.
What's the process of like, how do you know? You don't. You never know. You don't know after you're married. Like, we live in this world where we want to know that the choices that we make are the right choices.
We want certainty.
Yeah. And especially with something as big as getting married. But the thing is, let's say you get married and something about them annoys you. And you find this out after 6 months.
They snore.
They don't do the dishes the right way. They don't fold their laundry the right way. They have a sin struggle that you didn't expect. Okay. That's going to cause suffering. Any of these is going to cause varying degrees of suffering. So, did you make the wrong choice if you're suffering in your marriage? That's the first question that you ask, because we're not stupid as human beings. Whatever situation we're in, so say, you're in college, suffering happens because you're in college.
Mm-hmm.
You look at, well, I'm suffering because I'm in college. Did I make the wrong decision in going to college? Maybe I should quit being in college.
Maybe I should go to a different college.
Maybe I should go to a different college. Okay, all of those are valid questions. But maybe, and especially when it comes to marriage, love necessarily leads you into suffering. That's what, C.S. Lewis would say, if you don't want to suffer, don't love anything, not even a dog.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's going to lead to suffering.
Love equals pain because of
it does. Yeah. And you have to be vulnerable with people. Love requires that vulnerability. So how do you know? The answer is that you never do. You never know if you made the right choice. So then the question is, I think it's not about knowing if you made the right choice. It's about, are you going to make the right choice today in loving this person, regardless of whether or not you feel any love for them, whether or not you feel like they're your spouse, neighbor, or enemy? What are you going to do today to love them? And I would say love always makes the relationship better. And I don't mean the romantic kind of love that comes naturally, that's mostly of infatuation with another person. It's self-sacrificial love that actually really hurts, that isn't fun. Doing that always makes a relationship better in the end. It relieves a burden, at least for you. So does that answer that question?
I think that does. I think that was a good answer. That it's not. You're never gonna know.
You're never gonna know.
You're a sinful person binding yourself to a sinful person. There's gonna be pain. There's gonna be suffering. If you're looking for the perfect choice, Jesus is the perfect choice. No person is doing that. And I've heard it even said that getting married is kind of like buying a car. Mm-hmm. There are benefits to different cars. They have different things, but there's also weak points.
Yes.
Like I drive a truck, right? Not the most fuel efficient vehicle on the road, but I have a lot of capacity for towing, storage space,
helping people move.
I have people hang out in my truck during the summers, whatever. There's a lot of great things that come with it, but I don't have fuel efficiency.
Right.
I could have fuel efficiency in like a Prius, for example, but there's a lot of things I then miss out on.
Yeah.
Neither is bad.
Right.
Neither is bad.
Yep.
Just there are going to be weak points and strong points within a car. I think the same is true for picking a spouse.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, this leads to the next question.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
How do I help myself make a wise decision?
Mm-hmm.
How do I do my market research on vehicles to buy a car? How can I do my market research to use that example on choosing a spouse? Yeah.
I think the first thing, I'm glad you asked this question because I was going to say this very next thing. I think character is the thing that matters most for someone. Proverbs 31, starting in verse 10, an excellent wife who can find, she is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands. She's like the ships of the merchant. She brings her food from afar. She rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens, on and on and on and on. And you get towards the end of that of charm is deceitful and beauty is fading, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands and let her works praise her in the gates. Ultimately, character is what matters most in a spouse because who they are matters more than what situation they're in life, what age they are, their level of beauty. I tell Jess, like, I married a Proverbs 31 woman, to use that like really cliche Christian thing to say, but it has never been a doubt in my mind that that's who she is, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's primarily you want to marry someone of character, someone who fears the Lord And that means to take God's commandments seriously, because God is God, creator and judge, and you are none of those things. So to take the commandments of God seriously and to listen, that matters most. And then after that, I would say, what are your compatibilities? What are your goals? Do they match, or are they compatible with each other, what you want to do with life? Do your ministry strengths complement each other? Jess and I never got the other person to serve in youth ministry or to be a part of a prayer team. We just found ourselves on the same teams at church. I think you want someone who wants to serve Jesus with you. So, and then, yeah, like the other compatibility thing of like, if you want one child and she wants 10, that's going to be an issue.
Seems like a big problem.
Yeah. So you want, and then I would say too, the ability to communicate and negotiate is important too. Because you're going to have to communicate, fight, and negotiate with the other person a lot.
Quite a bit, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Over, running a family.
Yeah.
Working 2 lives together for the next, anywhere from 30, 40, 50, 60.
120 years,
I mean, at this point, if I get married in the next 5 years with medical technology, I could be here for another 100. I don't know.
Yeah, you two are gonna be married for 100 years.
It could be a while. Which hopefully is a good thing.
Yeah,
hopefully
you want that
I
to
want
be a good
more,
thing, yeah.
more as much time as I can get with my spouse. Great.
Yeah.
So this is good. This is good because there's a whole lot of dating information out there, and there's a whole lot of information. That I think is a good segue into my next question. Which is the sexual component of dating.
Yep.
So I have I'm gonna hold off. I have a stat here. I'm gonna read it in a little bit.
Okay. The man came statted.
I've came statted and I am tatted.
That's true. Wow.
This is
statted and tatted.
I'm statted and tatted.
So the next time we do this podcast, I'm here with Preston Schmidel. He's statted and tatted. That's what I'm going to say.
This is true.
Give a warm welcome to my co-host, statted and tatted Preston.
The Bible tells us that the marriage bed should be undefiled.
Hebrews 13.
That sexual activity is for the marriage bed. Yeah. Right? But in our society today in America, where both me and Brax are living, the marital age is skyrocketing closer and closer to the 30s for both men and women. Yeah. And Christians aren't getting married much earlier than that. I mean, I'm 21. I'm unmarried. Most of my friends are between the ages of 19 and 23. Most of them aren't married. Yeah. But the general consensus here, here's the first that I'm going to read off here, is according to experts, 18 is the right age for both men and women to become sexually active. While there are numerous theories which can suggest otherwise, we have found that a very logical reason as to why experts believe 18 is the right age to start doing it. Which that in this definition right here, there's nothing talked about getting married.
Right, yeah.
And from at least personal experience, I think just general consensus, we know that young people are sexually active, able to be sexually active, able to reproduce well before 18. Yeah. But yet we're not getting married until much later. Christians aren't getting married until much later, and we're actually figuring out singleness and living in singleness during some pretty peak times in our lives for sexual reproduction, where our libidos are high, our hormones are high, we have a deep desire to procreate and to have sexual experiences, but yet we are, asked not to how do we navigate that? What's a navigating point through
Who's
that?
asking you not to first? I just want to
Scripture.
Yeah, okay.
Jesus is.
Yep.
We're
from
being-
Hebrews 13.
Hebrews 13.
Yeah, okay.
So yes, my Savior is.
Mm-hmm. It's telling you not to get involved sexually with someone
I'm
before
not
you're
married
married.
to. Right.
Right. Yeah. So I would say that Hebrews 13 is talking about the marriage bed, and that is the bed of people who are married.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is talking more about sexual immorality with fornication and things like that. Adultery would be what Hebrews 13 at least is talking about. But I do think that the Bible does teach that you should not have sex outside of marriage.
There's several other verses, I don't have them in front of me, that talk about sexual immorality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it seems like the Bible assumes that you have a covenant relationship with the person that you're having sex with, male and female, right? So the question is then, how do we navigate singleness while we have desires for
singleness and dating, even within that, when you're dating someone and you fall in love with this person, you have strong feelings towards someone, the natural inclining is to want to have sex with them.
Okay, well, let's start with singleness, and then because that's one person, and then we'll move up to two people.
There we go.
So with that, I would say for singleness, we really need to emphasize from a Christian perspective that singleness is a good gift of God, which we don't in the church don't do a good job, and haven't historically done a great job of emphasizing how singleness is good. But it is. You don't need sex in order to be happy. You don't need a spouse in order to be happy.
Jesus never did either.
Jesus is married now. He's married to the church.
Right.
The church is his bride. But while he lived here, he never got married. And I would say had the deepest joy and abundant life that anyone has ever had, despite the suffering that he went through, despite being single. So I would say Paul is single. Singleness is a good thing. And historically, the church, all through the first 1,500 years of the life of the church, if anything, emphasized singleness over marriage.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is very true.
If you wanted to be an important person in the church, you were single. That goes for men and women. If you wanted to be runner-up, be a generous widow. If you want to be the lowest thing that you could be was a married person with kids. That was like the lowest thing in the church hierarchy.
Man, that paradigm has switched.
It definitely has. So I would say when it comes to singleness, take advantage of the time that you have being single. 100% take advantage of that time. Because when you get married, you change and you have responsibilities.
Next week on Braxtags,
you don't have the freedom that you once had to serve the church, to get together with other young people, to disciple them, to be involved in the children's ministry, to be involved in evangelism, to do missions. Like, the freedom that you have as a single person is insane. And don't waste your singleness pining after wanting to have a spouse. That's so stupid. Just like as flat out as I can say, that is dumb. Don't waste your singleness.